Hey people, it's Niaz talking now. I want to cover this guy called Imhotep. This is about black Egyptians and their contributions. So, this is from ancient history encyclopedia. So, here it goes. Imhotep, Greek name in Imhotep, was an Egyptian polymath, basically a person expert in many areas of learning, best known as the architect of King Joseph's step pyramid at Saqqara. I'll put a photo of that. His name means he who comes in peace, and he is the only Egyptian besides Amenhotep to be fully deified, becoming the god of wisdom and medicine, or according to some sources, god of science, medicine, and architecture. Imhotep was a priest, vizier to King Djoser, and possibly to the succeeding three kings of the third dynasty, a poet, physician, mathematician, astronomer, and architect. Although his step pyramid is considered his greatest achievement, he was also remembered for his medical treatises, which regarded disease and injury as naturally occurring instead of punishment sent by gods or inflicted by spirits or curses. He was deified by the Egyptians in 525 BCE and was equated with the demigod of healing Asclepius by the Greeks. His works were still extremely popular and influential during the Roman Empire, and the emperors Tiberius and Claudius both had their emperor temples inscribed with praise of the benevolent god Imhotep. Joseph's step pyramid. Under King Joseph's reign, 2670 BCE, Imhotep was vizier and chief architect. Throughout his life, he would hold many titles, including first after the king of Upper Egypt. And just for the people who don't know, Upper Egypt was lower down, the south of Cairo. The Egyptians believed that south was north and north was south. So Upper Egypt means what we would consider Lower Egypt. Hereditary nobleman, chancellor of the king of Lower Egypt, hereditary nobleman, high priest of Heliopolis, and sculptor and maker of vases, chiefs. Imhotep was a commoner by birth who advanced to the position of one of the most important and influential men in Egypt through his natural talents. He may have begun as a temple priest and was a very religious man. He became high priest of Ptah and was reverently known as the son of Ptah. Under Joseph, with his understanding of the will of the gods, was in the best position to oversee the construction of the king's eternal home. The early tombs of the kings of Egypt were mastabas, rectangular structures of dried mud brick, constructed over underground chambers where the dead were placed. When Imhotep began building the step pyramid, he changed the traditional shape of the king's mastaba from a rectangular base to a square one. Why Imhotep decided to change the traditional base is unknown, but it's probable that he had in mind a square-based pyramid from the start. The early mastaba was built in two stages, and according to Egyptologist Miroslav Werner, a simple but effective construction method was used. The masonry was laid not vertically, but in courses inclined towards the middle of the pyramid, thus significantly increasing its structural stability. The basic material used was limestone blocks, whose form resembled that of large bricks of clay. The early mastabas have been decorated with inscriptions and engravings of reeds, and Imhotep wanted to continue that tradition. His great towering mastaba pyramid would have the same delicate touches and resonant symbolism as the more modest tombs who had preceded it, and better yet, those would all be worked in stone instead of dried mud. Historian Mark van der Meeroep comments on this writing. Actually, I'm not going to read that. I'll leave the article up, you could read it. When completed, the step pyramid rose 204 feet, 62 meters high, and was the tallest structure of its time. The surrounding complex included a temple, courtyard, shrines, and the living quarters for the priests, covering an area of 40 acres, 16 hectares, and surrounded by a wall 30 feet high. The wall had 13 false doors cut into it, with only one true entrance cut in the southeast corner. The entire wall was ringed by a trench 2,460 feet, 750 meters long, and 131 feet, 40 meters wide. Again, I'm not going to read what historian Margaret Bunsen says. You can look that up in the article. Joseph was so impressed by Imhotep's creation that he disregarded the ancient precedent that only the king's name appear on his monuments, and had Imhotep's name inscribed as well. When Joseph died, he was placed in the burial chamber beneath the step pyramid, and Imhotep is thought to have gone on to serve his successors. Sekhemket, circa 2650 BCE, Kaba, c. 2640 BCE, and Huni, c. circa 2630 to 2613 BCE. Scholars disagree on whether Imhotep served all four kings of the third dynasty, but evidence suggests he lived a long life and was much sought after for his talents. And I just want to say something from Imhotep. You know, we always hear a Hotep we always see in the movies, or a Hotep is some weird spiritual guy who's talking pro-black. Hotep in ancient Egypt was supposed to mean like a master teacher. So Imhotep was basically sort of like a very smart master teacher. And you know, in modern day, our master teachers of black history and other things would be, say, John Henry Clark, Sheikh Anta Diop, And who else was there? Joseph ben Yochanan, and I think Professor Black Truth would be considered a master teacher as well. The pyramid was never completed. Oh wait, Imhotep may be involved in the design and construction of the pyramid and complex of Sekemket, which archaeologists believe was originally intended to be greater than Djoser's. The pyramid was never completed because Sekemket died in the 6th year of his reign, but the base and the first level show similarities in design to Imhotep's work on Djoser's pyramid. Sekemket was succeeded by Kaaba, who commissioned his own pyramid, now known as the Leia pyramid, which was also left unfinished when Kaaba died. The Leia pyramid is also similar in design to Djoser's monument, especially in the square base for the foundation and the technique of building inwards towards the middle of the structure instead of upwards. Whether the Leia pyramid and buried pyramid were designed by Imhotep himself or based on his designs is not known. There are scholars who argue in favor of Imhotep's personal hand to lay the pyramids, and others who challenge that claim. As both sides of the debate point to the same evidence and nothing new has emerged to tip the scales, the matter remains unsolved. Imhotep is thought to have also served the last king, Huni, but as little is known of Huni's reign, this claim remains speculative. Huni was once thought to have built his own pyramids, but now those have been positively identified of other kings. Right, now let's start with his medical contributions. Yes, as well as being a famed architect, he was also a doctor. Imhotep was practicing medicine and writing on the subject 2,200 years before Hippocrates. And for people who, Hippocrates is the father of modern medicine. You know when doctors take that oath, the Hippocratic oath, that was after him, but Imhotep was practicing medicine before him. So everything the Greeks learned, they learned of the Egyptians. I want to reiterate that. All of the European civilization claim is from Greece and Rome. And Greece and Rome went to Egypt to learn. If you look at Herodotus, he went to to Egypt to learn. This is what he said, and he even said that the Egyptians were black. Okay. He is generally considered the author of the Edwin Smith Papyrus, an Egyptian medical text which contains almost 100 anatomical terms and describes 40 injuries and their treatments. The text may have been a military field manual and dates to circa 1600 BCE, long after Imhotep's time, but it is thought to be a copy of his earlier work. The Edmund Smith Papyrus is so named for the collector who purchased it from an antiquities dealer in 1862 CE. It is written in hieroglyphic script, the cursive shorthand of Egyptian hieroglyphics. The most interesting aspect of the work is the modern approach it has to treating injuries. Unlike many medical texts of the ancient world, there is little recourse to magical treatments in the Edmund Smith Papyrus. Every injury is described and diagnosed rationally with the following treatment, prognosis, and explanatory notes. There is not to say there is no allusion to medical practices commonly used at the time. The reverse side of the papyrus features 8 magic spells and chants for healing. Examinations are described along the same lines as a modern-day visit to a doctor. Patients are asked where they are injured, feel pain. The physician then addresses the wound by touching or prodding and questioning the patient. The prognosis given after every entry begins with the phrase, an ailment I will handle, or an ailment I will fight with, or an ailment for which nothing can be done, which according to U.S. National Library of Medicine's article on the subject could be seen as the earliest form of medical ethics, as an ancient physician would generally refuse to treat a condition he knew was fatal. The National Library article goes on to observe that those prognoses could also serve as a kind of insurance when a poor outcome is expected, and will also help save the physical reputation if treatment failed to cure the patient. All right, now we're dealing with the last bit, legacy. A number of didactic writings on morality and religion, as well as poetry, scientific observation, architectural treatises are also attributed to Imhotep, but have not survived. They are referenced in later writers' works. Regarding his masterpiece, the Step Pyramid, Miroslav Werner writes, right, I'll just read this one from him. Few monuments hold a place in human history as significant as that of the Step Pyramid in Saqqara. It can be said without exaggeration that his pyramid complex constitutes a milestone in the evolution of monumental stone architecture in Egypt and in the world as a whole. Here, limestone was first used on a large scale as a construction material, and here the idea of a monumental royal tomb in the form of a pyramid was first realized. In the 19th dynasty inscription found in South Saqqara, the ancient Egyptians were already describing Djoser as the opener of stone, which can be interpreted as meaning the inventor of stone architecture. So, as well as being an architect, he invented stone architecture and was a doctor. The innovations attributed to Djoser were actually initiated by Imhotep following his vision to build a colossal monument entirely of stone. He was able to imagine a feat never attempted before, perhaps never even conceived of, make it a reality. In doing so, he changed the world. The great temples and administrative buildings, palaces and tombs, the majestic monuments, the pyramids and towering statuary, which came to define the Egyptian landscape, all began Imhotep's vision of the stone pyramid at Saqqara. Once a monument built of stone had been accomplished, it could be attempted again and then again with greater attention to detail and improvements in technology to create the true pyramids of Giza. However, visitors to Egypt who saw these immense creations brought back reports of them to their own countries, such as Greece, who then built upon what Imhotep had first imagined and then made real. So you see, although he didn't build the pyramids of Giza, he was the one who laid the groundwork and created the architectural style and techniques that allowed the great pyramids of Giza, the big ones that you see, to be made. Anyway, I hope you have liked this talk about Black Egyptians. Please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. If you want to support this channel, leave the PayPal in the description. Peace, family.